every time with Rob Browne breaking it all down. Yeah. SEC Sidelines Sports on my mind. Rob Browne calling game time. Highlight shine, executive mind. Brenden Martin keeping Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. Sideline Sports, y'all come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune.
All right.
Rob on the guitar. Rob and I recorded this last week.
Yeah, it's a band. Brenden, it's just an Ocala thing, man. Rob Browne in Memphis, Brenden Martin in Ocala, in Control Central. Hey, welcome aboard. Here. And thank you so much for tuning in and watching us here on Sidelines. Take a picture with your cell phone. Be cool. We're on 8 channels live streaming. Brenden does it. It's the octopus theory, but it works. Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. 3 things. And Brenden has got this. It's in my head. Like us, subscribe, and share. Right now, all of you watching, share this with all your friends on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is. Come back again and again. That inspires us more than you have any idea.
And again.
And we have the best guest. Let me tell you something. Jordan Davis Hill. Let me tell you something about a guy like him. Love him. 247 Sports covers Georgia. But he also shares this show. The minute he comes on, hey, I'm going to jump on with Rob and Brenden. Watch us. Come on, tune in. You cannot put a price tag. It's such a big deal to do that, and we will help his brand.
We pay him a lot. We pay him a lot of money. So
that's right. NIL deal. Hey, in fact, Jordan, one thing going on right now is there's a lot happening. I was watching Georgia. I was telling you before the game. You're tweeting out about the snow over in Athens in the Classic City last weekend. The crowds at the Georgia games, Mike White is changing things in basketball, and we'll talk basketball, football, really whatever's going on at Georgia that we need to know about. Feel free to talk about it. And I got to ask you, you've always got a coat on. You're kind of like me. Are you outside or are you in a cold place? Because when it's 7 degrees, this big house we live in, it's hard to heat it, but it's better today. But how you doing?
Doing pretty good, guys. Appreciate y'all having me back on. Usually I'm not far behind having taken my dog outside, so I'm usually too lazy to take the jacket off.
What kind of dog do you have?
Yeah, it's 25
what kind of dog,
here.
What kind of dog do you have?
Oh, it's a Staffordshire Terrier, so like a pit bull. So
yeah,
nice.
She has to go out first thing in the morning. But no, it's been cold. I think all the snow's gone here, thankfully. And Rob was talking about the crowd. I want to shout out the basketball crowd. I did not brave the roads on Saturday when they hosted Texas A&M, but I thought all things considered, they had a pretty good crowd from what we could see on TV. Now, a lot of that was students on campus who, probably had gotten bored of sitting around and drinking and decided they'd walk down to Stegman Coliseum. But it was a better crowd than I expected because it wasn't even so much me driving on the roads, guys. I was a little bit more worried about the people around me trying to drive on the snow. I said, I'm just going to stay home and watch this one.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I've got an F-150. You can get one at landersfordmemphis.com with the 4-wheel drive. If you don't have it, I let my wife take it to work to Jonesboro last Friday. I said, just take my truck, turn that little button on if you get in a dicey situation. But the crowds in Georgia, I think they're no different than Knoxville, Auburn, Baton Rouge, Tuscaloosa. We love football, and when we see a commitment to something as fans, we follow it, don't we?
100%. I mean, the thing I've always said is it's the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And my thing is always the experience I got to see when I was at Auburn, watching Auburn gymnastics with SUNY Lee. I mean, man, they pack those meets out, and it's because people want a winner. And that's why, when I joined Dogs 24/7, that would have been February of 2022. Some of the folks who were at Dogs 24/7 before, they covered basketball a little bit, but I was like, we're going to go all in. And, if they're good, people are going to pay attention to them. And I think I told Mike White as much when he was hired. It was like, if you can build a winner at any especially any SEC school, but I think most power schools, you build a winning program. I don't care what sport it is. People will show up. People want to be associated with a winner. People want something to root for. Georgia's made progress in basketball. They've had kind of a rough stretch this last few weeks. Or on a 3-game losing streak, but I mean, he's definitely raised the floor of Georgia basketball. He's done what he was brought in to do, and people show up, man. People want to see a winner.
Well, I mean, I go to Atlanta a lot. Been to Athens many times. I love it. You listen. It's one of the greatest college towns in America. You get a product. The fans. You got a lot of people there, and then you're less than an hour from part of Atlanta. Atlanta's so massive, it kind of creeps over there. But it's fun to watch. They're 4-5 in the league. Just get to the tournament, and that opens up the doors. I think the scary thing about Georgia basketball is what it could be.
100%, and I think that it's something that they're, trying to maximize. And the end of this season and going into the off season, just really interested in what the team does and what the program does as far as talent acquisition. If it retains guys, what this looks like. You need to bounce back. They play at LSU on Saturday. Looking at it, I wrote a story that went up earlier this morning talking about, Georgia's NCAA tournament chances, that they've got to really kind of right the ship, and it starts Saturday. If they lose in Baton Rouge, I think they're in trouble as far as this race, because the way I look at it, there's not going to be more than 10 SEC teams make the tournament, and 10's probably a stretch. I was looking at the bracket matrix this morning, and it's got 9 teams. Kind of surprised it has Missouri out and Georgia as the last SEC team. I think a little bit of that is projection, the road ahead, what they will eventually do. But there's still the SEC this year is not as impressive and not quite as good as last year, but within the league, the differences and the margin for error is so small. I mean, you've got teams kind of in that 8 to probably 11 range that are beating up on each other. So if you're Georgia right now, they're tied for 10th. You got to win on the road, and they've dropped some at home. And when you lose your home games, that puts you behind an 8 ball. And you got to win in Baton Rouge in a few weeks. You got to win in Norman. If you don't do that, you really might have really wasted what was a very good opportunity, a good start to SEC play. You got to take advantage. You're going to have to steal some on the road.
Yeah, you got to hold serve at home and win 4 on the road if you can. That's hard. Let's do a little throwback here. Think back 8, 10, 12 years ago. 'Twas the night before the first Wednesday in February. We'd all be so excited. Who's flipping? Who's going to end up here and there? And some of these kids, remember, they would disappear for 3 or 4 days. We couldn't find them. I don't know what they were doing. They went to a monastery, perhaps. I don't know. To think about where they were going. Anything Georgia going to do tomorrow that's going to surprise you football-wise? I know Texas got a big commitment yesterday. Ken Capps, one of our regulars, sent that story to me, but certainly in Georgia with probably 250 D1 players a year, there's some diamonds in the rough, I'm sure, that Kirby will find.
Yeah, I think, barring any last minute moves or, last minute developments, I think Georgia's not going to be adding to this 2026 class. And Rob, it does make me sad thinking about what that first Wednesday in February used to be and how big of a deal it was. I'm trying to remember, I think I was still in high school, when Isaiah Crowell came out and had the puppy, the bulldog puppy, and everybody their mind, like all the stuff like that. And it's just, really the December signing period is the signing period. And then the February one is the late signing period. It's not early. And then, that's when you sign. And then February is sort of, who is still left. But I will shout out Georgia's recruiting already for 2027. They had a big junior weekend this past weekend. Again, I talk about him, I think, every time I'm on here. Benjamin Wolk, my coworker, did a great job with the intel of who showed up in Athens. They got treated to a little bit of snow. I don't know how much they were selling them on, hey, don't get used to this. There's usually not a lot of snow here. But Kamon Spell on Monday, 5-star number 1 running back in the 2027 class, committed to Georgia. And that's a big one. That's a guy that had been committed to Penn State. And then James Franklin gets fired, and then he reopens things. He's from Pennsylvania. When we get off of this show today, I'm going to go write about him and watch his film and kind of talk about what stands out. I really liked what I watched of him. They've already kind of turned their attention to 2027, not necessarily anticipating any more recruiting news for 26 when we get to quote unquote signing day on Wednesday.
Well, looking at the class that Georgia brought in, how does it stack up with the previous 5?
It's pretty good. I do think that it's not quite to that level of these last few, and I think you see it in the rankings. The last time I checked, Georgia, I think, was number 11 nationally, which is probably the lowest of the Kirby Smart era. But I think you're seeing, especially with Georgia, I think that is partly a product of the revenue share era. Georgia's not going to sign a class where they've got 4, 5, 6 5-stars anymore. You have to allocate your resources, and you got to be smart about how you're spending your money. And I think you see that in that class. That said, I really like this class they're bringing in. There's several guys that I think have a chance to contribute right away. Receiver Craig Dandridge, he was a guy I heard about behind the scenes, did really well during Sugar Bowl prep. Akene Agboko, his older brother Namdi is a defensive lineman for Georgia. Akene may wind up playing some offensive tackle, playing some legitimate snaps as a true freshman. He's a name to know there. A guy I really like, but there's a log jam in front of him, Nick Abrams II, an inside linebacker. Georgia's inside linebacker room, it still kind of amazes me when we go through every portal cycle. I kind of keep an eye on certain names, and it's not really intel as much as I'm looking at the depth chart and like, okay, this guy's probably not coming back because this is where he would be on the depth chart. Tight end and inside linebacker both. Georgia just does a great job retaining those guys. So Nick Abrams II, he may not play a ton right away like as a true freshman, but remember his name, guys. He's going to be a playmaker. Georgia knows the 2 positions they scout the best and evaluate talent the best, inside linebacker and tight end. I think Nick Abrams II has a chance to be a really special guy, probably a few years down the road.
Yeah, listening to Chuck Oliver yesterday, Heath Cline is going to be on right after you, but he said, hey, don't bet against someone was talking about it. Don't bet against Kirby. This is the 3rd year of these kids being in his program. That's significant, isn't it?
100%. And the thing to me, when you look, I've kind of started looking, and sometime probably next week, I'll kind of talk about, hey, this is the percentage of snaps coming back, this percentage of rushing yards coming back, that sort of thing. And look, Georgia lost some studs. C.J. Allen, one of the better inside linebackers that Georgia has had under Kirby Smart. Dalen Everett, a lockdown corner, several guys like that. But I really like the talent they have coming back. And I think that, going into 2025, a lot of people felt like, okay, this team has a chance to be really good, but it's the next year. Granted, you hold on to your talent, you don't lose guys to the portal. And I think that's the case. I think that this is a really good opportunity for Georgia to contend for the national title. And it'll be an opportunity that they have to take advantage of because we've seen how hard it is to break through. And if you kind of miss that window, it's we've seen in today's day and age, you can become like a Clemson, and it's like you kind of miss that window. Now, you won a couple of championships, and Georgia did as well. 2026 is a big opportunity for Georgia with who they have coming back and what questions they have, they feel like they can answer with what they got on the roster. It's a big opportunity for Georgia this upcoming fall. It's just up to them to make the most of it.
Well, receiver-wise, they went and got Noah Thomas, Zachariah Branch. This is year 2 for Gunner being the man at Georgia. He gets really shit on by the media, a lot of them. Not you, but he's one of my favorite players in college football. And he answered the questions that I asked at media days about toughness and wanting to be pushed to the max. And he was like, yes, sir. I mean, who wouldn't want a guy like that as their quarterback, certainly as a teammate and the alpha male in that locker room? I think he's got that it factor.
100%. And I wrote about this on Monday. I did the last couple, I guess it was before last fall camp, and then I did it during fall camp. I rated the position groups for Georgia. This is the group I'm the least confident in. This is the group I'm the most confident in. And I had quarterback, I think around 5 or 4. And I pointed out that, there are fans frustrated with Gunner. And I think that, there's just, I think he can do what Georgia needs to get done to win a national title. And I don't know that you can ask any more from him. Biggest thing for Gunner, he's just got to take care of himself. I think he took too many hits last year, and he's got to be smarter about being healthy for a 13, 14, 15 game season.
Yeah. Exactly. Hey, all right. Great stuff as always. Let people know how they can follow you. You put out content every day. 247 is appropriate for what you do, Jordan Hill, and always appreciate your time.
Appreciate that. Dogs247.com on Twitter, at Jordan Davis Hill on Twitter, at Dogs247. Junkyard Dogcast will have a podcast on Wednesday talking about the signing day, everybody that they have signed back in December, and looking ahead to 2027. And I want to say this to the Auburn folks out there listening. Hey, prayers go out for the friends and family of Philip Marshall.
Yeah.
Man, what a guy to be around.
What a badass.
I love Philip. And
yep, I did too.
Was sad to see that, but wanted to send that out there. Definitely going to be missed. A legend in the Auburn area, and just wanted to say that before I got out of here.
Yeah, you're right. Just like Claude Felton is at Georgia. There's so many, but man, you're first class. That's why we love having you on this show. And I'm with you about Philip. And he came on the show many times. He was always a voice of reason. And I mean, like Buddy is, and you just Tony Barnhart. You learn from these people. If you don't, it's your fault.
The best thing is you probably didn't even need a microphone for Philip Marshall. He probably could just start talking and y'all would have heard it.
Yeah, that's right. He was fantastic. All right, take care.
All right, thank you, guys.
Let's bring in Heath Cline over in Atlanta. Heath is I was listening to the show yesterday, walking in the snow with one of our dogs at the park here in Parkin, Arkansas, right outside of Memphis, and listening to y'all. And I was listening to the first hour, and I kept going and got into hour 2, and I was listening to the first hour of Friday's show because it said Chuck was out sick. I said, well, I just heard him in the first hour, but I absolutely love what y'all do. Heath, you work so hard. I love it. Rolodex to the stars. But all of you watching this show, share it, like it, subscribe. You need to be listening to the Chuck Oliver Show every single day, Monday through Friday. It's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. It's college football year round. If you love this show, you'll love it. And Heath, thanks for coming on with us. And I'm just going to let you run loose in the aisles. The walk around sign is on. Let's talk some college football. You're muted. Sorry. Heath, you're muted. We can't hear you. Heath, can you hear us? Uh-oh. Heath, you've got the mute button on. Oh, no. Heath, you've got the mute button on. Okay. Can you unmute yourself? Oh, Heath, can you hear us? Wow. Let's see here. Brenden, I'm having a hard time. I can't hear him if he's got his mute button on or what it is. But we'll try that one again. Okay. And we got West Neighbors in here right now, and we're trying to get we're trying to get Heath Cline on, but he's got the mute button on. So we'll try to work with that. All right, 1 second, Wes. Okay. Let's see here. Brenden, see if we can bring Heath back in. And I was telling Wes, I apologize for the confusion, but Heath, can you hear us now? Heath, are you there? All right. Heath, you've got your mute button on, I think. Okay. Heath, go ahead and start talking. Okay.
Rob, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now you can you hear me?
I got to try and get my tech to.
Okay. All right. Well, not sure what happened, but we're having a little trouble trying to get Heath Cline on here, and we'll do it momentarily. But Heath does a remarkable job of lining up the best guests every day, and that's what we do on this show is get the best guest to give you the best information on college football, basketball, baseball. If we can get Heath in, we'll.
Yeah, Rob, we're going to get Heath in. I think he'll figure it out. He's going to call his technical director. He's just going to try to figure it out.
Okay.
And we lost
All
the
right.
rest as well. So
Yeah,
it is what it is. But these guys were endeavoring to bring back into the show. They'll bring him in just a sec. Heath is communicating with me, but nonetheless, Rob, I think you need to talk a little bit. I think you guys are going to talk some college basketball and what's going on here. We're talking about Florida this morning. What's going on? We had last night. I don't know if you were able to catch Scarborough Knows, but that was a pretty good show where he talked about Florida, Alabama, what's going on in Gainesville and stuff. And I don't know if you are keeping up abreast with that or not, but I am starting to follow college basketball a lot more now, considering things are very exciting up there.
Well, it is the league, and it was interesting to hear
we were
Jordan.
talking about with Jordan, and it's like we were talking last year. We're talking 7 teams making the SEC. He just said, I don't think 10 teams are going to make the SEC.
Well, last year we had 14. We had 14.
Excuse me, yeah, but I don't think. I think 10 is. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
Well, he said 9 or 10 this year. I mean, I would be shocked. I was thinking, I've heard, early on 5. Look, there's a long way to go. But look, let's do this. Let's get Heath Cline back with us right now. Heath, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. So, Heath, it's just little settings right there. I think you just check your earphones. So I think or you have earphones, or you're using your MacBook Pro earphones. Let's see.
Okay.
iPhone.
All right.
Yep. He's having a hard time. He can hear us, but we can't hear him. So your microphone's not selected correctly. So, and then you get Wes to call him back. So
let's do this. And talking about SEC basketball, I know college football is so big, and the season going until January 19th. Remember, next year, the CFP National Championship game is going to be January 25th. Let's be honest. It hurts the coverage and the exposure that the college SEC basketball gets for sure, because this is a part of the country that is so focused myopically on college football. Everything else is a sideshow until it's not. And that's late January. I love college basketball. And, the Big Ten, three straight national championships, that's been tough for the SEC to have to handle. I'm not saying that the SEC won't win it next year, but don't count the SEC out in football. They'll go in there and they will double down, triple down to find a way to get back on top. As far as college basketball goes, the SEC has the reigning national champion, the Florida Gators. All right. So I'm trying to remember, look around you. UConn had their great run. Duke, the ACC is not what it was in basketball. I think what's happened is that the SEC in football has to be careful of not becoming what the SEC is becoming in basketball. Okay, so great, so dominant, and then each year, well, it's just been 1 year. It's been 2 years. It's been 3 years without being the dominant league. Watch out, SEC. Be very careful of talking too much about, well, in the last 20 years, this league has won 13 national championships, because all of a sudden it's going to be in the last 25 years, we've won 13. The last 30, you've won 13. Well, who's winning them? Look, all you have to do is look at recency bias. Clemson, Dabo, a lot of people think he can't coach now. But in 2015, 2016, 2018, 2019, they played for the national championship 4 times. They won 2 of them. Georgia won it all in 21 and 22. So, it's amazing. There are so many schools out there. There are like 5 of them that have played for the national championship twice since 2010. 5 of them. And we act like that's the standard at every school. You watch what's going to happen to the Indiana fans. That will be a fun one to watch. I guess, Heath, technical problems today. Let's go in. Wes Neighbors is with us right now over in Tuscaloosa. And Wes, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Good. Yeah, we're good. Heath was having technical problems. Heath, he is the producer, Rolodex to the stars, as Chuck Oliver calls him. But let's, Heath, tell people right now, you played at Alabama, Wes. You've been a part of that program for a long time. Your dad played there. You're from Huntsville. And you've got one son that played at LSU, one at Alabama. Let's get the Neighbors family tree right now. What's going on? Because football is a huge part of your life, and you do a great show. And Drew DeArmond, who's also at your station, I got to tell you, nobody asked more good questions, more honest, hard-hitting questions at SEC Media Days than got Drew. He is a badass. And you've got a great talk about your radio station there in Huntsville, and then we'll talk about Alabama or whatever else is on your mind. And Yancy Porter will join us about 1:30 with Rebel Yell Hotline over in Oxford, and I'll get the two of y'all talking together. But let's get going, and thanks for your time.
Oh, it's great to be on the show. I kind of backed into the radio business. I was going to do a show for 2 months when I left Merrill Lynch. I was a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch, went out on my own, started my own financial, I guess network, what you call it now, Neighbors Wealth Management.
Yeah.
And I was going to do a radio show for 2 months, 12 years ago. And about 6 years ago, I bought the station so they couldn't cancel me. And I remember I found Drew. At the time, it was me and Cole Kublik on the station when I first started, and Drew came in to a car dealership. We were doing a remote at, and I've never met anybody who had more knowledge about recruiting in my life.
Yeah.
He knew the recruit's name, who had visited them, their parents' name, where they were exactly. And so as soon as I got the station, I had to, when you buy a station, you have to, you own it, but for the first 6 months, it has to be separate until you get approved by the FCC. Yeah. So during that time frame, I told them, I said, listen, I'm going to buy the station and I want you to give him a show. So, and I've been doing it for about 2 years, and I know I can't. I just show up for my show. Steve Moulton's my partner, and he does everything. He's amazing. So I can just show up, and because I still have these other jobs, but Drew, we just threw him on the air. Noon show, threw him on the air. Never done it before, and he learned by fire. And now he's on Chuck Oliver's show all the time, and everybody uses him across the country, and he hosts shows in Tuscaloosa and things when people are out. Yeah. But he's done. Him and Scott Tyson are a match made in heaven. They're like an old married couple when they're not on the air. It's kind of funny, but it's just been an amazing ride. Because right when I went on the air, my son was one son was in Tuscaloosa for Coach Saban, was in his first recruiting class. And then my other son goes to LSU, and that ends up being like, I had one on each side of the national championship game. It's been just this crazy ride where each of them have gone to the national championship game, I think 7 or 8 times. Total, not. Yeah. And that doesn't include my cousins that were at Tuscaloosa after Leslie left. My nephews. So it's been this incredible ride, and it's been people on the radio in Huntsville have lived through it. It's been pretty incredible.
Well, no, it is, and Huntsville is one of my favorite cities. When I was at Auburn, there were so many Sigma News that knew you, Mark Russell, Phil Thompson, Ray Mooring. It's an all-star lineup.
I get invited to Sigma Nu events all the time here. Yeah. For Auburn. Mm-hmm. I go to them too. I have a lot of Sigma Nu friends. It's really crazy.
No, it is. And I knew about you because we're the same age. Now, you played at Alabama. You know that program really well. And, we have my best friend was an SAE at Alabama. We're the same age. You and I, we were all there together. I was at Auburn. He was at Alabama. But, man, the program right now, I've seen Kevin Skarbinski does a great podcast on this channel called Scarbo Knows. And he talked about the record of Nick Saban the first 2 years, the record of Kalen DeBoer the first 2 years. We know the program Nick Saban inherited wasn't as strong as what Nick Saban left Kalen DeBoer. Talk about the first 2 years of Kalen DeBoer. One thing great about you is you're a truth broker. Someone asks you a question, you'll give them an answer. And by the way, if you can give me Drew's contact info, we'd love to get him on in the future as well if he'll come on with us, because you're right about him. The guy is, you call him a throwback. He's one of those guys that can talk about anything. If he doesn't know, he'll dig into it and write a thesis on it. I love guys like that.
Well, if you ever with him, he's talking about it 24/7. That's it. His knowledge comes from hard work and a passion. And he has a passion, and he's a very interesting fellow. And we take turns having to settle them down, put seatbelts on them, and everything else. But it's the passion that makes him good, so you got to kind of live with it.
Yeah.
And but when you own a radio station, you worry about it. I'll tell you that. What he might say, what he might do, the calls you're going to get.
Yeah.
But it's almost a running joke when I'm at airports or I'm traveling. Somebody come up to me, go, "That Drew DeArmond," I hold my breath. And usually it's somebody that just absolutely listens to him every day. And it's 95% good.
Yeah.
Anyway, but as far as Alabama's concerned, the first 2 years, there is no comparison. Well, there is kind of, because when Coach Saban took over, Mike Shula had been there. Mike had one arm tied behind his back because, he only got 10 scholarships, not actually 9 scholarships for 2 years while he was there because they were on probation.
Yeah.
So, you look at the people that Mike got and that were walk-ons that played in the NFL. It's really, I thought Mike did a pretty good job for what he had. Mike's problem to me was he's hard-headed, needed to make changes, and didn't do it. And that it ultimately cost him his job. But the vision of Mal Moore and the president, Dr. Witt, was to take Alabama from a 17,500 person enrollment to their $45,000. 45,000 people now.
Yeah.
And you look at out-of-state tuition is most of what there's more people go to Alabama from out-of-state than in-state now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The out-of-state tuition is $10,000 a semester extra.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you do the math.
That's the same in Florida. Same thing. Yeah.
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 That's the same deal where they start cutting out legacies.
That's why they say Coach Saban is the best investment ever for Alabama. He knew he had to have a winning program to do it. They put it together, and it was magic. You just watched it. It was incredible.
Yeah.
To see that, I think it's similar what Caleb DeBoer had to go to, because he lost 30 players the first, before he ever got there. There were 30 players in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And the times have changed. What we're witnessing, in my opinion, is the older teams like Vanderbilt had 30 players that were 5 or 6 year players this year.
Okay.
You look at Indiana, average age was 22 and a half.
Yep.
Of their starting. You can't put it. You look at Alabama started 5 freshmen last year. You can't. It's changed. It's no doubt what's happening in the country's changed. And you look at Indiana, and you look at Vanderbilt, and you kind of got to go after that model now. You can't just recruit high school kids and expect them to compete with this. I saw one guy was it LSU or no, at Miami, he's going to get an 8th year.
Yeah.
How do you compete with that?
Yeah.
You look at Alabama's basketball team, like it or not, I didn't like it, but then I did some research. You have all these people from overseas play professional, and now you got G leaguers that are coming back. What's going to happen next when a guy in the NFL doesn't make it?
Yeah.
He's going to come back to college. This is a mess.
Yeah. Wes, let me throw something at you. Gary Harris comes on our show from Tuscaloosa on Thursdays. And Gary made a good point. Full disclosure, all of y'all know I'm an Auburn grad, but when I'm on this show, I got 16 kids. I've got to be fair like a judge. And a lot of people ripped into Jim Roberts. I know his wife. I've talked to him. He was judge of the year in Alabama. That's a random thing they throw at you and say, make a decision on this. It's a computerized model. And he recused himself from that. But Gary pointed out, he said, look, I don't like it. He said, but Auburn's got a 3rd-year guy from Serbia starting. I can't even pronounce his name. Vladi, can we buy a valve for $50 in there? Divock or something like that. But that's what goes on. So we've opened the door just by looking at what they do from these overseas players. Look around the country. Everybody's got them. I wonder how old Mamadou Njai was when he played at Auburn. 30? Nobody knows how old these guys are.
No, something has to happen. I'm against all of it. I think we have to have rules. I do believe you should be able to go up to 6 years. You hurt your knee 2 years. I get that.
Yeah.
It puts you back. But after that, it's tough luck. I mean, there are other leagues. Heck, there's new leagues. Jerry Glanville, who was my coach at the Houston Oilers that I'm really close with, he he's 85 years old. He's the exact age of my dad would be, 86 years old now, almost. And he's the defensive coordinator with the Toros in San Antonio now. I mean, there's leagues for everybody, and some of these guys that you can go there and get paid. But college football, what happened is like we were in the perfect position. And of course, I'm an Alabama fan, so I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about people who were graduating. We had a system where they were going to school, they were getting out of school, and now who even talks about that anymore? They're changing schools. They have no. Every time you transfer, there's a 20% less chance you graduate.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I've been banging this drum for a minute. Since I can remember about on this show about where's academia. Where the hell are the teachers, the professors that care? Where the hell are these guys that matter when you got a grade? Where was the one teacher that my captain stands on his damn chair and says, no, I don't accept this. And you got to come to class and you got to do this because I'm standing. Like there is a lane here for them. And I'm just baffled by it. Actually.
Wes, I'll tell you along the line what Brenden just said. When I was at Auburn, and you and I are the same age, I was in summer school one time. We had a Dr. George Plaskidas, taught radio, TV, and film writing, communications, TV, everything. He was an All-American at Ole Miss in 75 and 76, defensive end. And he said, look, I came from Chicago. I was the only kid in my neighborhood whose last name didn't end in SKI. He goes, I played college football. I made my grades. And there were a lot of football players in this class. And he goes, I'm telling you right now, don't come whining to me at the end of the quarter, begging me for a grade to be eligible. They were ruthless on them. And you know what? People say, well, they could do it. No, they couldn't. You know, the teachers, they singled you out as an athlete, and a lot of them didn't like you, and they made it even more difficult for you. I remember when Boyd saw Coach Bryant out in front of, he was at the SA house. He was over there by Bryant Hall when he was in school one time. The first thing Coach Bryant said, he said, son, be good with your studies because that's all you're going to have when you leave here. You know, that's what you learned. You're muted.
Yeah, I didn't take those classes. I had a guy steer me away from those classes. The best thing I did is I got a tutor who's still one of my best friends. And my degree should have his name like a painting, under it. He got me through school. And I took real class. I went to business school at Alabama.
Yeah.
It got me to where I am today, no doubt. And it's I think we'll look back 30, 40 years and this will be a disaster. You're going to have all these people that don't graduate. It's all the things that we were worried about. And then I can't stand this BS about, we're trying to help the athletes. They're going to play 17 or 18 games next year. How's that helping the athletes? All that's doing is helping them be profitable is what it's helping. And I just think we're playing too many games. You're talking about going to 24. When are we going to do all this?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
they're not going to class. I mean, what else are they going to do? I mean, it's like there's not going to class. They're not. They're not studying. That's not what this is about. These are going to become brands. That we have now because I go off on it all the time, but AI is taking a lot of kids are not going to be in college anymore. People are opting out of these things. Why we see universities pivoting to out-of-state tuition more often. That's more money, more opportunity, more research grants, that sort of thing. We're just seeing that change, and that's going to change our game. So,
Wes, and I'm going to throw this at you too. You and I've been a financial advisor since May of 91. I have never in my life met with a family with my attorney that I worked with, CPAs, ever that had a lot of money and said, you know what? We're going to give $2 million to our 18-year-old, $3 million to our 19-year-old, and we got one 21-year-old. We'll give him $5 million. Could you imagine knowing the guys I know that went to Auburn and Alabama with me or Ole Miss in the fraternity? Give somebody $1 million over at the Phi Gam House or the SEC. I mean, what could possibly go wrong, Wes?
Yeah. Well, first of all, none of them are paying their taxes. And so that's going to be the number one thing that I mean, they after the first year they get their tax bill and they need more money. I mean, it's just it's the wild, wild west. This is like something that I never could have dreamed of happening, and I think it's doing more harm than good. I think the players should be paid, obviously, but there has to be guardrails, and there are no guardrails, and just when you think it can't get worse, it gets worse. So
I just think they want it to break. They want it to break. They want Sankey them. They want it to break. They want to get their Super League. No one's doing anything to stop it. It's just watching this thing go off the rails. And everyone's like, well, this sucks.
Well,
like, who's in charge?
Here's the deal, though. They can't do anything. They get sued. I mean, they have until the NFL has collective bargaining, and because of that, they have they get an exemption from the courts on all this. That's what's going to have to happen, and they keep delaying it and acting like something magical goes until they do that. And they have to have contracts, and there's simple things they can do to both pay the players, let them leave, but also they should have to sign 2-year contracts. I mean, now you're signing contracts and breaking them.
Yeah. Wes, Wes, I'm going to ask you another one. Yan Cowart's a friend of mine. He's my dad's hero. My dad, architect at Auburn, walked on briefly in football at Auburn, went through spring practice and said, I realized I was good, but not that good, because he'd be in an architecture building till 3 a.m. and practicing at 5. But Yan bought his best friend Sam Butner's architecture practice in Montgomery, Infinity Architecture, and now has turned that into something great. Yan said something so prophetic the Thursday before the Mercer game. They were having a reunion of that 83 team. He said, the guys I played with, and he walked on. I knew him when I was at Auburn. His brother Philip's a good friend of mine too.
He hurt his knee, but Jackson ran over him.
Yeah.
He hurt his knee.
Yeah, Yan. Yan was talking about, you were breaking up, I think, but Yan said the guys that he played with at Auburn, and I remember Joel Gregg, a friend of mine from Union Springs, was a walk-on. Those guys were so close. Now, that's not combat. My brother-in-law, 7 tours in the Marine Corps. He's our age. There's nothing like what they go through. But what you went through, and Yan said, we're in each other's weddings. We're godparents to each other's children. We've been through everything together. We had Coach Dye. We had our family. But we were in class with those guys. And he said, when we have their reunion this weekend, it's going to be just such an emotional, there's just the memories. He goes, and these kids today, you're going to have a reunion. You may have 300 or 400 kids on that team. Come there, go, yeah, you were there for a semester, weren't you? I call them athletic orphans, Wes. That's really all they are, and they're not going to have a home. Where are you going for homecoming this year? Let's spin the dreidel. What the hell are they going to do? Oh, you're muted. Wes, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Oh,
sorry. There you go. Sorry.
Yeah. Who they're going to call when they need help or something. I mean, in Alabama, we have Coach Bryant set up this the fund, and actually I'm the president of the Coach Bryant Educational Fund, and we also have a fund to take care of ex-players. Something bad happens to them. We have several that have ALS. We provide vans for them, and we do a lot of things to try to help our own. Who are they going to go to with all for that safety valve? I mean, this is. I just hope that these kids. I don't wish anything bad for them. That's for sure. But I don't understand, like you're saying, there's not going to be a home. You're not going to have. I was talking to 2 teammates yesterday. They're missing out on a lot. And I guess some people would say, well, financially, there's probably, it's like the NFL. There's 10 people on every NFL team making good money. And the rest of them are on minimums. And the people don't realize that. You see the big contracts and the people play forever. The average player plays 2.5 years. They get retirement at 3.5, 3.25 now, I believe. Okay. And the reason that is because that's above average. So, you're talking about someone, my dad played for 8 years. My mom just passed away in June, and she got a check from the NFL to the day she died. That's not what's happening in college football. And only 1% of these guys are going to play in the NFL, and their college degree is what saves you.
Yeah.
You don't realize it, but it's what saves you. And I just fear that we're going to look back on this time frame and just see how the stupid things everybody did is going to come back and haunt everybody.
Yeah, I talked to someone that runs a collective in an SEC school. I know several of them. Not going to name names. They had a kid. I'm not making this up, Wes, and you and I know this from the business we're in. The family said, "Why do we have to pay taxes on the money? We've already spent it." I mean, seriously, that's a living brain donor, okay? I ride around Tuscaloosa a lot with my good friend, Dr. Waller May, May Veterinary Clinic in Tuscaloosa since 1964. And that's something Waller, they're all Auburn people, but 95% of their clientele is Alabama people. They're very close to Coach Bryant. And you kept saying, what's going to happen one day when Nick Saban leaves to all this student housing, all this growth around here? 62% of Alabama's enrollment is now out of state. There are more kids enrolled at Auburn from the state of Alabama than there are kids from Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I've got just as many friends from Alabama as I do Auburn. You know how that drill works. I remarried, evolved for life, and I got an Alabama daughter as a grad. She's still a good person. I love her. And we have more fun. Yeah, that's right. And that's what makes this rivalry what it is. But you're making so many great points about what is happening in college football. It's got to be fixed because you can't, like, I've had a contract before, a 5-year contract, go from firm A to firm B. You pull out that first year, you owe 80% of the money they gave you up front within 60 business days. Of course, I never did that, but these kids are walking out on contracts. Now, we're talking college football, but it's a disaster, and we're going to have more crash and burns for it to just go away. But this belief that, you've got 15 or 20 people hitting these kids up, borrowing money they're never going to pay back. These kids, you can go through $500,000. I know people who've gone through $2 or $3 million in less than 3 years because they're sad. Someone dies, they leave it to them. 95% of wealth in this country is first generation. And you know this about estate planning. If you don't have it together, first generation employs, the second enjoys, and the third destroys. Make your kids work. We're not making these kids work. We're not even holding them accountable.
No, it's I just think it's set up for disaster. And I hope, I know they're working hard, these schools are trying to educate everybody, because they don't want it to be on them. They want to, and they're trying to help them with their taxes. When they give them the money, they're trying, they're learning from their mistakes. And I say from their mistakes, the kids' mistakes, the schools are learning what they're doing and trying to help them. But it's one of those things that.
Are you there? You're muted. We can't. Wes, I think you hit the mute button. It's on. Okay. Wes, we can't hear you. You're muted. I think you're muted. But keep. Yeah, there you go.
It's something on screen. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. You're good now. But you're talking about there's no accountability, Wes. I mean, you and I in the financial services business. We used to joke with our chief compliance people at Duncan Williams. Huxley would say, the leaves are changing and it's fall, and that can only mean one thing: end of the year compliance. Everybody like, oh. I mean, how many people were in there New Year's Eve, especially the older guys, what the God, smashing stuff? But you got a guy making $2 million a year. It's just, hey, man, just get it done, please, so we don't get fined. But there's no accountability. Here's the question for you. You look in the SEC. Big Ten's won 3 national championships in a row. When you were coming up, you talked about playing for Alabama, how beat up you were, playing with injuries and stuff like that. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm proud to say this. I think kids today are as tough as you want them to be, and I think they are craving hard, tough coaching. That the only people that I've ever respected in my life that have taught me or coached me or mentored me are the people who were relentless and ruthless and tough on me. Look at the 4 coaches in the Final Four: Kurt Signetti, Dan Lanning, Pete Golding, and Mario Cristobal. They're hard asses. You're not having all that. People were trying to tell me the future of pro football is that Mike McDaniel at Miami. He's friends with the player. He plays Fortnite with him. What's he doing for a living now? Is he still the coach at Miami? I rest my case. Wes Neighbors with us from Huntsville, folks. And again, I love this conversation, and thanks for being on. We got to do this again next week.
Well, so, I think that now you're playing so many games that, it's time to – the great coaching knows when to be tough on a player and then knows when to back off of a player. My dad was on Coach Bryant's first was in Coach Bryant's first recruiting class at Alabama. I was on his last recruiting class at Alabama. Things changed a lot. But one thing that didn't change is if you had a good team, like my dad and them had 25 points scored on them all year in 1961. Won the national championship. Him and Leroy Jordan were all Americans on that team. But you look at that, they didn't put on pads during the week after the first game.
Wow. Because
he knew they didn't need to. And on Saturday they got after it. Every team's different. There are stories about Coach Bryant doing that, and there's stories on, I think, when Alabama got beat by Missouri in the first game, ended up winning the national championship that year. He took them to Tuscaloosa High School Stadium when they got off the plane. They practiced that night.
Wow.
At Tuscaloosa County High School.
Yeah.
And he said that they didn't go to Bryant-Denny because they deserved to be in Bryant-Denny.
Wow.
So, times have changed somewhat. But I went to a practice this year in Tuscaloosa, and they were getting after it.
Yeah.
The coaches were getting after it. They're being hard coached. I was so impressed when I left there. I knew we'd lose 3 games because we were so young. I said that on the air the next day. We'll lose 3 games because we're so young. But it wasn't the reason. I thought it would be our defensive line. But our defensive line ended up coming around. It was our offensive line that had some struggles and some issues. The problem is now you, in this day and time, you don't have the depth that you had.
Yeah.
Number one thing. So when you play in the Southeastern Conference, you're playing these games every week that are just, Alabama wasn't the same after Missouri. They had 3 people knocked out in that game, including the running back, who didn't play the same, maybe one game the whole rest of the year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? By the end of the year, they're all beat to hell, which is the Big Ten, they got 4 or 5 schools. And they're doing a great job, like Indiana. That guy's doing an incredible job. He recruited my son. When my son signed, he was the Signetti and Coach Saban were both in my house.
Wow.
When Wesley went to Alabama. So it's not surprising that all these guys I've learned under Saban, but what they're doing, Oregon played 2 teams last year. Not to say they have a lot of talent, they're a good team, but it helps with your injuries. You look at Alabama's injury report going into play the SEC championship, and you don't include the quarterback has a bad back and a bad arm in the game and hasn't practiced all week. So that's what's happening, I think, and it's great coaching by the teams that win it, because uh, when you win a national championship, a lot has to have life. But if you go undefeated, and watch Indiana, I mean, their quarterback turned into Superman every time they got behind. I mean, you watched the Penn State game, should have lost that game. Should have doesn't count though. When you got a lot, I mean, when we were in Alabama, we should have lost a lot of games. But in the fourth quarter, that's when you win football games, and it's when you play with a lot of heart that you have to do that to win. You saw what Miami was the best team in the country, I thought, talent-wise, all year long. And you watch that game; they never blocked either one defensive end. The whole game, they never blocked.
Yeah.
And they still won the game because the quarterback just kept making plays on fourth down passes, fourth down runs. You look at all the things that's how you win a national championship, is you got to have special people on your team that win behind, play better than they're capable of playing. That's what.
Well, Wes, I'll tell you what, let's do this again next Tuesday. Yancy Porter, having a little technical problems today. Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, have y'all on next week talking back and forth, Alabama and Ole Miss, but SEC as a whole. But this is the difference in you. And you think about a kid today that's gone to 5 different schools. What's he going to talk about? I mean, yours is all the authenticity, the richness. It's coming out in everything you say because the hell you've been through. I mean, you talked about playing with, strained knees and busted, broken fingers. And I mean, there's not a player out there who didn't go through that. And look at there. What you go through. I think the future of college football, the games, the ratings are great, but I question the NFL. It's a matter of time before they kick back and say, enough. What you're sending us is a bunch of kids who have showed up to take the final exam that have not studied, and they're getting Fs, because it's going to pay off. And offensive line wise, if you don't have at least 2 years with a group together, you played the position, you played in the NFL. I don't know how you have any bonding in a short period of time unless you send them to Paris Island to toughen them up in 13 weeks. Because the guys are, what Cole Kubelik calls them? You take the reps with the ones in spring practice, and then you leave at the end of spring practice, stolen reps. That's what Cole said it at the Touchdown Club in Memphis. He's exactly right, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he is. And, here's the thing. You got 24, 25-year-olds on the offensive line or defensive line, and you're expecting 18 and 19-year-olds to block them?
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's what's going to change. I mean, there's no depth. So if you get a guy hurt, you end up with an 18-year-old out there, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
And you saw what the 18-year-old against trying to block number 4, Bain.
Yeah.
Ohio State, they never blocked him. They never
blocked
him either. So, I mean,
we got about 1 minute, but no, you're right.
My son coaches at Ole Miss. Leslie's at Ole Miss, been there for 3 years, then staying with Pete. I went out to the game, to the Miami in Phoenix, and you watch that they handle Miami's pass rush.
Yeah,
it was amazing. I mean, I thought that Ole Miss wouldn't have a chance because of their pass rush, but they handled it. But Indiana didn't. They beat them up, and the fact that quarterback still made all those plays after taking all those shots is incredible.
Yeah, it is. Wes, let's do this again next Tuesday, this conversation. Your knowledge of football, what's happening and all, it's off the charts. Great stuff. Catch him in Huntsville, and we'll do it next week. Folks, thanks for watching so much. Going to put you and Yancy next week because he'll know your son on that staff at Ole Miss. He does Rebel Yell Hotline. So let me say this, man. Folks, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go out and find excuses to win every day. For executive producer Brenden Martin, let me say, check out all of our sponsors, Landers Ford, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, Rumble Boxing, HempForPros.com, My Town Roofing, all of them at Sidelines.live. We'll see you tonight. Thanks for watching.